Police officers of Reddit, what stupid things have people nervously said around you and instantly regretted? Not a cop story exactly, but I was carded while buying beer at a spot frequented by college kids. As the guy took my license, before he looked at it, he snapped, "How old are you to, like, throw me off in case it was a fake kid?" Well, it worked. 21 I said. I just panicked. I knew I had to be over 21 to buy the beer. He looked down at my very real, very legitimate license and looks up at me like I am mentally incompetent. You're 27. He did not let me buy the beer. My father was a cop for many years and one of his favorite arrest stories was when he pulled someone over for simple traffic violation. I think he didn't do a full stop for a stop sign. When my father asked, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" the gentleman responded, yeah, it's because of all the C in the trunk." After my father read him his rights and was putting him in the back of his car, my dad asked just out of curiosity, "How did you know I knew you had drugs in the back?" The man ushered to the radar detector in the front and said, "I saw the drug detector on the dash and I knew you had me." My father still laughs about this one 20 years later. Yeah, it's because of all the C in the trunk. If only it were acceptable to joke around with cops so that I could use this. I was sitting in my patrol car watching cars drive by one night and see a 4-door car drive by and seen it had a tail light out. Now usually I just stop the vehicle and let them know that it just needs to be fixed. So I turn on the LA cherries and berries. Me. Hello, I'm Officer Corb 1126 with the police department. Do you know the reason I'm stopping you? Him. Because I'm fricked up. Me. Very taken by surprise. Why don't you go ahead and step out of the car for me? Not a police officer, but I got pulled over. I thought it was because of the illegal U-turn I had done and as the usual goes, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I sheepishly responded, "Because I did an illegal U-turn." He kinda just stared for a moment and switched on my headlights and said, "Your headlights are off and stop doing illegal U-turns." You never answer that question because it's self-incriminating. Man was beaten unconscious by 3 men. I caught one of them escaping on foot, but he vigorously denied any knowledge of any incident. Another officer had collared someone he thought might also be involved, but had little evidence other than the fact he was running away and couldn't really account for his presence. The other prisoner was being taken to a cell just as I walked into custody with mine. My prisoner looked at him and immediately yelled, Matt has got nothing to do with this. You should let him go. He wasn't even there. A+ for friend loyalty, C for avoiding self-incrimination. I guess his only crime was being too good of a friend. And the beatings, of course. Once pulled a woman over for speeding. Upon approaching the car, I noticed she has 4 young children in the car and that none of them are secured in their seats, even though there were 3 car seats in the back. So I explained why she was stopped and inquire as to why none of the kids are belted in. Her response was, "I don't have time for that crap." "Yes, mom. I'll be right back with you." Went back to my unit and ran her, noting that she had received a ticket the previous year for the same thing. Just 1 child. Roger that. Wrote her for speeding. And 4 for the unsecured kids, totaling $900 in fines. If she had said they had unlatched to see the policeman or some other reasonable excuse and had them buckle up, I probably would have let her go with a warning. Buckle your kids in. I'm glad you ticketed her. That is such negligent parenting. I hate when I'm on the freeway and see a bunch of little heads popping up and moving about through the rear windshield. I'm the idiot in this situation. Being apologetic by nature, when I got pulled over for rolling through a stop sign, I said, "I'm so sorry, officer. I do it all the time." Got stopped going 102 on the interstate in Kansas last summer. When he asked why on earth I was going so fast, I panicked and said, "We have a long drive ahead of us." Pulled a guy over on suspicion of drink driving. We didn't have an ESD breathalyzer, but he was so drunk he was adamant that my radio was a breathalyzer. Anyway, whilst we were waiting, he started to get really agitated as he thought we were up to something. He was begging to have a go on the breathalyzer radio. Eventually I let him blow into the radio antenna. Told him it was faulty and we had to wait for another. And surprisingly he failed and got arrested. Not quite what you asked for, but it still makes me chuckle. When I was a teacher, I stood with Officer S, the school police officer, in the morning out near the bus lanes to greet students. One morning, a mom drove up to drop her child off. rolled down the passenger side window, and called out to Officer S. If you get a call about a break-in on Smith Street, don't worry about it. It was just me. Then proceeded to roll up the window and try to drive away while he ran after her shouting, "Excuse me, Mom, I need to talk to you," and I laughed my butt off. I'm really hoping it was I live on Smith Street and locked myself out. If anyone saw a person crawling through a window, it was just me. I had someone drunkenly confess to me that they witnessed a murder and knew where the murder weapon was ditched. I have to. First, was a suspicious person behind a business that had been burglarized a bunch of times in the past. Me. What's your name? Suspect. Jonathan. Me. Okay, how do you spell it? Suspect. JOTHNATHN size. My name is Robert and I have a warrant. Second was a traffic stop. Driver is in tears begging me not to give him a speeding ticket since he was going to have his license suspended. Me. Tell you what, if you have any information about something more serious than this ticket, I'll give you a warning. Driver, a couple buddies and I broke into a bunch of cars by Main Street. Me. You've got to be crapping me. Driver, I swear, all the stuff we took is at my friend's house. Turns out the driver was part of a group that was going through cars that were unlocked. We ended up arresting 4 people, 2 adults, 18 years old, and 2 juveniles. They all went to jail for a few years, but I kept my promise and did not give the driver a ticket. Late to the party, but here's one of many. I pulled over a woman for speeding one night. 45ish mph in a 30-mile-per-hour zone on a gorgeous spring night with pedestrians everywhere. When I asked her if she knew she was speeding, she said that she did. She was having brake problems and was rushing to get the car to her friend's shop. The regret was obvious when I pointed out that if her brakes didn't work correctly, perhaps slower would have been the better option. In my state, driving with a suspended license is a non-criminal traffic offense. However, knowingly driving with a suspended license is a criminal traffic offense. More often than not, when I pull someone over with a suspended license, they always start out by saying something along the lines of, "Look, I know my license is suspended, but..." Thanks for the pro tip. JK, but a lot of these comments are advice from cops to be maliciously compliant if you're in the wrong. Not a cop, just dumb kid. In '99, after Phantom Menace came out, I thought Jar Jar Binks had the funniest way of talking. My family and I spent part of the summer in Mexico visiting family. On our way back at the border, the cops there asked each of us kids if we were American citizens, and everyone says yes except me. I said something along the lines of "Misa American," all exaggerated because I thought it was funny. We ended up sitting on the side of the road in 100-something degree heat while they tore apart everything packed in the back of the truck. My mom was sitting with all 4 of us girls and holding my 6-month-old brother and pinching the crap out of the back of my arm. I still flinch when people touch the back of my arm. Yowza was in big doo-doo then. My mother is a police officer. She once stopped a woman who was on her phone while driving and doing something else as well. I don't know what exactly, smoking a cigarette or something. Well, the woman saw them, panicked and intended to throw out her cigarette and put the phone away, but did it the other way around, threw the phone out of the window, put the cigarette in her pocket. It's pretty common for people to openly admit to driving 10 miles per hour over the speed limit because they think that 10 over is acceptable. It's also common that they don't know the speed limit, so they'll admit to going 45 in what they think is a 35, but it's actually a 25. Your best strategy is just to be polite and play dumb. I got pulled over walking home from the bar pretty trashed, and after the cop searched me he said, "So, do you have any warrants?" I said, "I don't know. Do I?" Hey, better than me. Got tackled by a cop out of nowhere. Called back up, so I had 4 of them surrounding me. Guy tells me, "You have a warrant." No, I did not have a freaking warrant. I knew a kid who was arrested after pointing a gun at the police after they stopped him because they got a call about car prowlers. When he tried to run away, he slipped and fell, so they caught him. When the police officer was telling the other officers that the guy was trying to shoot at him, he said, "I forgot to take the safety off." He basically just admitted to attempted murder of a police officer and was sentenced to 13 years in prison at the ripe old age of 17. I have a story about something stupid I did and said. I joined a new D&D group. They played in the neighborhood near mine, about a 10-minute drive away. I had my L plates, Australia, so I was allowed to drive with a licensed driver, but not on my own. The meeting was pretty late and it was dark out. Public transport wasn't readily available and I didn't really feel comfortable walking in the dark. So I figured it's really close, I'll just drive. So I drive there and one of the guys is waiting for me outside to make sure I find the house. I parallel park in front of the house. Did I park okay? I ask him as I get out. Yeah, you're good, he says. Oh good. I actually only have my L plates and don't want to screw up, I say stupidly for no reason at all. Oh, I'm a police officer. I laugh, because he is obviously kidding. He doesn't laugh. He was not kidding. It was super awkward. He took pity on me and let it slide. Rolled one on a charisma check. Pulled a guy over late one night. His car reeked of pot. My friend said it was no big deal, he just wanted to make sure the guy was safe to drive. Here is where things get weird. Guy has his hands on the steering wheel aka in sight, and is very polite, but forgot to turn down his music. My friend said it was like being in the front row at a concert. Told the guy to turn down his music and no crap, the guy instead of turning down his music just changed it to the local college station. Turns out he was on shrooms and smoking and thought changing it to the right station would compensate for the lack of nocturnal noises. My friend apologized for not drinking after the cop asked her if she'd had anything that night. My brother was caught with a decent amount of marijuana in middle school. Told the officer I wasn't gonna smoke it, I was just gonna sell it. That was now a distribution charge instead of simple possession. He was never actually charged with anything though. Officer felt bad for him, I think. As I was handcuffing a guy after a felony car stop for a stolen car, he looks around, sees all the cop cars and the helicopter. Says to me, all this for a GTA? Why thank you sir, now I don't have to interview you. 4 stars my guy. I had pulled over a guy for some minor traffic offense who I knew had a twin brother. He gave me his name, let's say Jeff. I decided to check the other twin's name as well. Boom, warrant. I knew he was bullshitting me but I couldn't prove it. I chit-chatted casually for a few minutes and then asked him what's Jeff up to these days. He answered and started telling me and I said, but I thought you were Jeff. He didn't even try to get out of it at that point. Admitted he wasn't Jeff and went to jail. The annoying thing is that I later fell for this with another set of brothers and had to go back and arrest the kid the next day after he totally got the better of me. Close enough. A friend of mine is a cop and the first time he pulled anyone over it was a couple of teenagers in the car. My buddy says to them jokingly, "Alright guys, where are you hiding the pot?" They were instantly terrified, so they opened the middle console and handed him an 1/8 ounce of weed. He couldn't believe it and said he honestly felt really bad because at that point he had no choice but to write them up. You know, rabbit, a good cop doesn't really know why he does anything. Not PO, but my significant other nearly got me interrogated. A police officer was canvassing the area regarding a recent assault robbery a few hundred feet away from our house. He was giving a description of the suspect: tall, slim, light hair, and she goes, "Ha ha ha, sounds like my boyfriend." I was listening in the kitchen cooking and almost dropped the lasagna. Drops lasagna and it looks like a murder scene. Cop walks in to question you about robbery. My girlfriend was going through customs one time, and when the security guy asked her if she was carrying anything, she responded with just my explosive personality, followed by finger guns and a wink. This set of actions was immediately regretted. There was a shooting in my town. Apparently the perpetrator was arrested and has been in the county jail for 2 weeks. He's made over 200 calls and has confessed to the crime in 3 of them. I'm assuming the drugs caused permanent brain damage. Pull over a car because I was 99% sure she was texting. I get to the window and her phone is on the passenger's seat with iMessage open. Me: "Hi, do you know what the speed limits are on this stretch of road?" Her: "Yeah, 30 miles per hour. Me: "How fast do you think you were going?" Her: "I don't know, I was on my phone." Also not a cop but rather the stupid nervous person. Got pulled over because one of my headlights was out and I responded with, "Oh yeah, I know that, but if I just hit it with my scraper, it comes back on." I think the only reason I didn't get a ticket was because it was such a stupid response. I'm amazed you got pulled over at all. My old job involved driving like 90% of the time and I literally asked a cop to give me a fix-it ticket for the work vehicle so my boss would have to fix the freaking headlights. He laughed at me even when I explained no. Seriously, he says if you just wiggle the wire a little it will work fine. Freaking cops never give tickets if you ask for them. This is Cato of Power. If you subscribe, your power level will increase by 64 levels. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.